Radiant team ban. Dire team pick. Radiant team pick.
Slada.
Dire team pick.
Oh, okay, so I wasn't there apparently. I just did my whole spiel, but I just had the mic muted because the mute button doesn't work sometimes. So yeah, we're here, and it's gonna be 2 games between Bosnia and Team Finland or Stark. I'm Mikelorus, gonna be joined by more Rage, please. And now we're actually gonna start because now
You are
everything
going
is
to be
working.
joined by me, and yeah, not too much surprise thus far. I'm sure you've talked about Finland having a little bit of an edge in this matchup, and full lineup of Stark, or formerly known as 4ASC, for Finland. So I assume that's the benefits of forming a team with your countrymen. Era of Ogre Magi ushered in once again by 6.85, and it's nice to see him become kind of that first phase pickup. But Slardar pickup comes out from Stark early on. What are your thoughts on this? Where do you think they're going to lane him?
It's probably safe lane or bust, right? Like, I just don't think the hero can function anywhere else really effectively. He does need a lot of help in lane. He does need acceleration. If he does get a little bit ahead, he'll do much better, but I just feel like the hero, even if he does get a little bit ahead, isn't going to be, smashing everybody. He'll be, overperforming for sure, but as far as oppressing the game, as far as dominating the game, Slardar just typically doesn't ever get to that stage, especially if he's going up against the likes of Dazzle and Ogre Magi, 2 heroes that are difficult to bring down and make Slardar's life very, very difficult as well. Yeah, interesting to see them actually grab the Slardar so early. He did get changed a little bit. I think his sprint is now just a little more effective, but still, you could probably pick him up 4th, maybe even 5th.
Yeah, I definitely would agree with you on that front. Slardar is not the hero that really makes you think twice about farming in lane, especially if you have a Dazzle behind you. Yeah, you mentioned the changes. It's a small change to sprint. It now phases through units as well, so not bad just for the initial chase through the creep wave in lane. But yeah, Slardar is not exactly a hero that is going to make the other team draft differently, play differently, really. He can snowball, as you mentioned, but does need a lot behind him. And already with his minus armor coming out, Dazzle pickup for B and H is going to secure them probably a little bit more survivability against him. They've got the extra movement speed from the Bloodlust as well, so they should be more than fine with this supporting duo of Ogre Dazzle. Interesting ban from Bosnia. They're going to take the Lycan out of the pool.
Definitely not something that we see every day. Doom is getting a little bit more play, and both those 2 heroes did get buffed somewhat, so, might as well get rid of them, since if the enemy team's going for a Slardar 2nd pick, you probably don't really know what they're going for. Lina is, of course, the 1st pick here for Stark, and I would like to see a Tusk from them, just comboing up with that Slardar, get in there for the crush. Poor man's Blink Dagger, maybe, but, man, you got to get on top of them and bring the enemies down fast if you're working with the Slardar draft. Got Razor and Gyrocopter in the meantime being banned out, 2 heroes that will work okay with Bloodlust, but more importantly, the Dazzle, just keeping those heroes alive, ends up putting out so much extra damage. It really is disgusting. So I like the bans coming out from both sides, although it does seem like Bosnia's bans are a little bit more confused, if you get my drift.
Yeah, they're a little bit. They don't seem definitely focused towards kind of a theme for Finlandia, and it seems like thus far the theme is that they're going to want to fight and fight early. You mentioned them having the burst available alongside the Slardar, and it's definitely necessary to bring down some of the tankier cores. So I understand the Lina pickup first, with the Undying SF to follow, though. That probably is going to throw the Lina in a support role, so don't expect too much farm to come out from her. I love the Beastmaster pick so far from Bosnia and Herzegovina. I feel like that's almost a little bit something that would probably deter you from going for the Shadow Fiend, but Stark going to do so anyways for their mid lane, and they're definitely comfortable with it here. They also, of course, have a lot of chemistry between one another, so expect there to be some presence in the mid lane from the Radiant side, or at least some stacks for him to recover.
He should probably get a decent time no matter what, Shadow Fiend. Maybe Ogre Magi is going to mess with him a little bit, and that is potentially very deadly, but for the most part, the Shadow Fiend should be okay. Undying most likely going to be going towards the off lane. Do like the Undying as a little bit more of a farmer nowadays. Now Bosnia going to grab a Night Stalker, another hero that's been having quite the rise in the new patch. And we can already see the Slardar like becoming less and less effective. Like versus Beastmaster, it's tough killing him off. He's just naturally very tanky Beastmaster. Roar goes through BKB, and Boar slows down everyone, and Slaughter needs to be able to chase. Night Stalker is just impossible to chase because he's just so fast, and of course everyone's going to be bloodlusted eventually. So this is the downside. We're seeing it right now of the early Slaughter pick. He is a hero that can be somewhat countered. Not completely shut down countered, but yeah, we already see Bosnia doing their best to make sure the Slaughter's life is difficult.
Yeah, I expect him to leave the Anti-Mage in the pool as well for Stark, picking up that Night Stalker and the Beastmaster, both with really nice single target disables, one being the silence, one being the stun. So I don't feel like it's a really good AM game. I feel like Finland can potentially do a aggressive dual lane with the Slardar Undying. He functions a lot like some of the more aggressive heroes like the Night Stalker and the Tusk early on. So wouldn't be too surprised to see that pick up. But right now, the bans from Bosnia indicate that they are going to expect this safe lane Slardar, as you mentioned earlier. So we'll see how they round out the lineup. Could go a little bit greedy with something like a more self-sufficient safe lane farmer like a PL here and throw that dual lane up. Or they could go a bit more standard and pick up another support.
Yeah, the roam is definitely on Bosnia's side, though. Even though Stark's ability to fight early on is pretty high, their roaming power is just not comparable to a Night Stalker who's most likely for Bosnia gonna go towards the offlane, I want to say. Like, they have so much flexibility, both these two teams do, really, in how they lane these heroes. I would like Ogre Magi in the roam. I always like Ogre Magi in the roam, and Dazzle's probably going to be a little bit more static, but everyone else, they can move around, and they can get a lot of action on their hands. So rotations, TPs, going to be so important. Also just natural sustainability. So Winter Wyvern ban out from Bosnia, I do like that just as a response to, we're going to be walking around looking for kills all the time, so we're going to take out this hero that could just effectively null out all of our dives, and I'm pretty sure they're going to want to go for dives with the Night Stalker being supplemented with a Hawk Vision from the Beastmaster. So yeah. Stark, they're pretty much going to be on the guessing game, I think. Like, their lanes are a little bit more static. They have to make sure that their lanes are just naturally resistant. And is there a hero that actually provides that as a last pick? Like, unless they want to go super deep into, like, Omni Knight, I don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind a Disruptor pick. A lot of run at your face from Bosnia, so maybe the Glimpse could be fairly effective in that manner. Static Storm isn't bad here, but not great either with all the MS available to Bosnia, and if they keep the Dazzle positioned far back as you would expect them to, he can definitely engrave someone up in the Static Storm. They are going to do something that's trying to mitigate these dives, as you mentioned. They're going to pick up the Venomancer, so having that Poison Nova available to them will perhaps deter Bosnia from jumping a little bit too far deep, but Venom not the tankiest hero either, and with Stark, it may be a lineup that wants to push around the Tombstone and the mechanism from the Shadow Fiend, but we'll see how the Venomancer fares. I don't know if it's the best situation for him, but definitely looking to stifle a bit of aggression from the other side.
Juggernaut as the last pick here from Bosnia. It is, a little bit of a slower hero, but very, very slightly. Really, he could keep pace with the rest of the heroes, and Bloodlusting a Juggernaut, certainly very deadly. It is now the 4th melee hero for Bosnia, and of course that always has its downside, especially when the enemy team already has, well, everyone that they have. Stark are pretty much perfectly equipped to deal with this many melee heroes, and of course we got the Crash guys, so sorry about that. We're going to be
easy load-in.
Yeah, starting things back up soon, but Venomancer, I've seen him a couple of times so far. Both times, I think, he's gone towards the mid lane, tried to get a little bit of farm, pressure to the enemy lanes a little bit, but really it's all about that Poison Nova. Poison Nova does a ridiculous amount of damage and even got buffed recently, which I thought was just completely unnecessary, but it's still there. It still is going to wreck you.
Yeah, and the Poison Sting's slight buff, I believe, as well to Venomancer. So, yes, his laning stage goes a little bit better, but I still feel like the Dire Side scale very well in comparison, and they can fight early. Something to mention about the Juggernaut, with a point or two in Blade Fury and that Bloodlust, he can easily pretty much solo bring down the Tombstone. So that takes away a lot of the potency of the early fighting lineup of Stark. So we'll see if Boogie gets run into here. They have the Void available alongside the Ignite. They're going to stack those slows, but probably just get off a bunch of chip damage here. And they're going to force Boogie to skill Sprint, but not the biggest deal early on in lane.
Yeah, Sprint is going to be there, and he may end up, being okay with this, given the fact that there may be many heroes on this bottom lane. Obviously, you want to be getting Crush. You ideally would like to get as many Crush points as possible before you have to get Sprint, and maybe even a little bit of Bash to play aggressive. And I crash again, so I have no idea what's going to be happening, but yeah, the Slardar on the bottom lane getting jumped like that probably will indicate to him that there is going to be a lot of pressure in that lane. And Slardar really does need a little bit of farm. He can do okay with a little bit of pressure, but not the best.
Yeah, I feel like as a main caster slot, I always crash twice, and as a co, I only crashed the one time. But either way, Reborn,
Good, you do
please.
everything.
Mid lane, it's going to be a pretty Shadow Fiend favored matchup for Nemphy up against Milan's Beastmaster. For those of you that know Milan, notably of MYI, it's going to be that dual aggressive off lane for the Dire side as well, with Own picking up the Night Stalker and Fedgeby picking up that Ogre Magi. So they should be able to do pretty damn well against this Slardar. Lina over in the safe lane for the Dire side. We're going to see the speed of life picking up the Juggernaut. And finally, it's going to be Vita on the Dazzle. So seems to be a pretty static laning stage early. Not going to be too much kill potential on either side. Trixie needs to be a little bit careful, perhaps, on that Vita Mancer. He's currently getting body blocked up, but Juggernaut won't be able to get in range for that Blade Fury.
It is really hard for anyone really to trade hits with the Venomancer. He's gone for Poison Sting level 1. And I'm sure Gale is going to be coming up shortly. It doesn't do great versus the Juggernaut, but as far as keeping him safe, it keeps him almost completely safe. This Venomancer is going up against a dual lane that naturally doesn't have that much kill power, and Dazzle, even though he may be getting Poison Touch, is, well, first of all, not going to out-poison the Venomancer, but also it's like not enough slow to get Juggernaut close enough, at least not comfortably. He's now going to start spinning, but Trixie's fast enough. He actually slows down, lays down the ward. Is that going to kill him off? It seems like it might. With a big crit, it will. If you just keep walking there as Venomancer, I think he gets away.
Yeah, I believe so as well. So perhaps a bit of a misstep. Either way, bot lane is being zoned out pretty heavily as well. Double decay there from Valix. He's sitting on 815 HP. Second or 2-minute rune will be secured though. And the Ogre Magi should be able to return to lane pretty soon. How do you feel about the Dire's laning decision? Do you feel like it's necessary to have this Ogre beside the Night Stalker, as he's going to be pincered in, crushed up, and the LSA going to hit as well? Should be a dead NS. So perhaps that answers my question. As soon as the Ogre Magi leaves the lane, the NS is going to take a spill.
I feel like if you're going to be trying to pressure the Slardar, you need more than 2 heroes right now. The Undying is not really going to be doing the best, assuming that there is, 1 or 2 heroes, but still, like, you have to pressure the Slardar, you have to do it, you have to commit fully if you're actually going to do it. These 2 heroes, they are powerful. Maybe they can kill off the Lina, but killing off Slardar is pretty much off the table. Yeah. Killing off Valix is just impossible. So these 2 heroes are now kind of stuck here. I think at this point they either have to bring down another hero. I don't know how much Dazzle would help at this point, but, bring down another hero or leave the Ogre Magi to, or the Night Stalker to his own devices and then roam with the other one. It just doesn't seem like these 2 heroes really do that much here. Like, the Slardar is still farming, and these heroes are not getting anywhere close to experience range.
Yeah, I felt that originally just leaving the Night Stalker solo and having the Ogre top would have probably garnered a lot more early on for the BH side, but either way they're gonna be a little stubborn with this aggressive dual lane. And as you mentioned, so much defensive capability. They have the Tombstone, they have the Soul Rip, they have the Sprint on the Slardar, so really the only hero they can even come close to bringing down at this point is the Lina. But right now, completely zoned out. The land mid lane's gonna catch a double raise, and there's going to be a miss uphill from Nemphy, but don't feel like he had total kill potential right now, and he's doing an admirable job mid lane on the Beastmaster. 14-6 on the CS to the 20-8 of the Shadow Fiend. You definitely expect the SF to be a little bit ahead here, but Milan's certainly holding his own.
The Shadow Fiend doesn't have any stacks to work with just yet, and Milan, he's bottling up. He got the first rune, and he may be getting second rune. Seems like he definitely will be. So this Beastmaster climbing his way to level 6 pretty darn rapidly. Most of the time nowadays, or whenever Beastmasters pick, which is granted not that frequent, he's going to be going towards the offlane. He's going to be hurting for levels simply because he's going to have to deal with like 2-3 heroes. In a mid lane scenario, you're allowed to get the extra levels, so you get the faster roar, but also you're getting more aura, more axes. And like all of the Beastmaster's base skills do quite a bit. So this is going to be a true testing point for Team Bosnia right now. They have a high-level Beastmaster. They will have a high-level Beastmaster. What can they actually do with it? Can they kill off Nemphy? Can they do anything with this Night Stalker who's now on the roam, given first nighttime?
Yeah, I feel like the levels should help quite a bit onto Milan, and as soon as he picks up that Primal Roar, probably look for him to rotate a bit. Nemphy gonna walk back and do a little bit of jungling of his own. Isn't gonna be able to create a stack just yet, but Milan gets a little bit of space in lane, and yeah, with the first nighttime, I don't know how much really Own can do. He's gonna run into Valix bot lane, but knows that he's a little bit too deep behind enemy lines, despite having a little bit of vision and information to himself, and will rotate back to lane. perhaps find his level 4 here.
Right now, the lanes are all going fairly evenly, with the exception being this bottom lane Dire. Even with this increased power, given nighttime, it's just not helping them enough. Top lane is pretty darn even, I would say. Like, Trixie is obviously not getting as much CS as the Juggernaut, but he's putting the screws to him and forcing Vita to stick around here. Maybe even canceling out the Dazzle's ability to do pulls. I'm not really sure if it's to that extent, but Trixie is winning this top lane. I mean, he's not crushing the Juggernaut, he's not killing him off, but still, he's getting a lot more than the Dire off lane. And mid, for the most part, is a wash. Valix is going to run into Pwn right now, but this is a Night Stalker running into one and dying. He just has to drop the Tombstone, and that's just about it. He's going to get Decay instead, wait for the Lina to close in with the LSA, and Pwn's now caught between the creep wave. Valix is now going to drop Tombstone a little bit late, but there's the two-man LSA. Crush on 2 as well. They're going to drop Pwn. Valix may die. No, he may not die. 11 HP. He slips away. The Undying's Tombstone staying alive the entire time, and Bosnia getting punished for their dive. Up towards top, though, they get their kill. It's on the Venomancer.
Still really nice trade for Finland here, and yeah, strength heroes early on like the Ogre and the NS are really gimped by that decay, so it was really good on Valix to know his boundaries there. Top lane with the DD rune. SF gonna rotate in, no catch though, so won't be able to chase down this Juggernaut, and will return himself over to mid lane where Milan has found his primal roar. Doesn't really have much item progression to speak of, just a bottle in hand. So we'll see if he makes a rotation anytime soon. He can certainly, with the summons, put a little bit of pressure on this tier 1 mid. And we'll have at least that Belt of Giant Strength coming out.
He's going to put up some wards. He just wants to know when the Shadow Fiend is clearing out the stacks. Unfortunately for Milan, that's not really going to be that super helpful because there are no stacks, and he only has level 1 axe at this stage. Nemphy is going to get wrapped around by the Beastmaster. There's the Roar. Ogre Magi's here as well. Double TP coming in from Stark. They should be able to save the Shadow Fiend, and they will. As far as turning around, that's not going to happen, but they actually do force a TP out from the Slardar, who you wouldn't even really expect to have a TP at this stage. Now he's got to run all the way back towards bottom. They commit the first Roar, but they force out 2 TPs. That's not that bad.
Gives Owen a little bit of space, but nighttime are about to expire here in 40 seconds, so he won't be able to make any immediate use of the free space in lane, but he will be able to pick up his level 5 here fairly soon. And as you mentioned, it does deny up Boogie a bit of farm on that Slardar. So all in all, they don't find the kill, but Primal Roar, very low cooldown early on in the game, of course, so it's going to be back up in about 40 seconds. And they can certainly continue to make use of that. Milan going to rotate at least into the jungle for now. There is some Radiant Vision that should be able to scout him out momentarily, if not at this point.
In a lot of trouble. He's going to throw the Nova and do quite a bit of damage with it. However, the Healing Ward is going to mostly mitigate it. He still does not have any Gale right now. I feel like that would be the best tool at keeping him safe. Still, Vita's dropping very low very quickly with that dot. No one's going to die up towards the top lane, but the Venomancer is under a hell of a lot of pressure. Has gone for a full ward build. What do you think about this build for an off-lane Venomancer? I'm not really sure. I think like you should probably get some Gale just so that you could roam, and now he's going to get roamed upon. There's no roar on the Beastmaster. Pop 6 charges. Now there is. Omni Slash will get the kill guaranteed, but they're just going to spin him down instead. Beastmaster draws that one. And I guess, well, no build would have saved you there as Venomancer, but now he kind of just has to go into lanes and push. Like, he can't really gank. He needs scale.
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, offlane are not the biggest deal 8 minutes in, but you mentioned really how well Trixie was faring in lane there. He was a level 7 target to bring down, and with that low cooldown early on, certainly worth the Primal Roar. Valix and Own going to trade some hits mid lane. Daytime is, of course, the bane of this Night Stalker, so he won't be able to continue to man up against the Undying. But still, finding some space mid lane, and Milan has more than what he needs at this point with the level 4 in the Call of the Wild and 1,400 gold in his pockets. He'll have a decent timing on this Blink Dagger if he looks to pick that up. Although he does have that belt, he may be going into an early Necro. But yeah, you mentioned the Plague Ward build from Trixie. It certainly looks to go with the theme of the team in terms of pushing around the mech and the Tombstone, but all by his lonesome in the offlane, so it probably would have been a little bit more helpful to have that level or value pointing Gale up.
Well, it may help a little bit given the fact that Boogie actually is closing onto his Blink Dagger pretty quickly. Omni Slash, though, is going to jump to a whole bunch of creeps. Spin is going to do a lot of damage. He has Sprint, and he actually is going to body block, looking for a crush. The Rip is there. They're getting Boogie pretty high up, and they're going to amplify a little bit of damage. LSA going to connect. There are no more nukes, but the right clicks, that should be enough to kill off the Juggernaut, and it will be. Boogie now going to turn and fight Pwn. Get the first hit bash after the crush. Pwn in a lot of trouble. Is going to avoid, get the kill. Will definitely pay the price with his own life down towards bottom. If it was just the Night Stalker for Slaughter, a great trade for Bosnia, but trading their Juggernaut and the Omni Slash for that kill, a little bit too expensive. Valix and the Lina, okay, going to be very happy about that trade.
Yeah, and the Juggernaut not even finding experience for that one. So unfortunate to say the least for the Bosnia side. 5-4 is your score, and Stark leading pretty much on every front at this point in the game. Nemphy has 84 CS on this Shadow Fiend. The Juggernaut with a bit more than Boogie. But Boogie has had to rotate around a bit, and most of the rest of his lineup are finding a lot in this early stage. Velix is a little bit gimped, but has been really the proprietor of a few different kills here. 1-0-4 already on the line, involved in every kill that the Radiant side has netted.
And as I was saying, Boogie is getting a lot closer to that Blink Dagger. The fact that he died there definitely does suck. But yeah, the Blink Dagger is going to be coming up soon. Then the mechanism should be around that same time. Nemphy hasn't bought any components towards that just yet, but given his farm rate and given the Slardar's kind of much slower farm rate, it seems like it should be even. He's going to get jumped down towards bottom lane, however. Now it's just a couple of spells being tossed out. Only a level 4 Ogre Magi who has gone for Bloodlust, so it doesn't even have that much aggressive power here versus Boogie, but still the Slardar, he's getting his farm speed impeded. But OK and Velix are here to help out. If they land a crush, Pwn may just die. LSA, free-handed, will miss. But again, it's all about getting the Slardar that blink. Once that happens, Stark should be looking to be a lot more aggressive than they have been.
Yeah, nice dodge there from Own with that extra 10% move speed from the Bloodlust, able to outrun the distance of that LSA. So saves his life, to say the least, and probably would have given the Blink Dagger over as well to Boogie if he picks up that kill. But yeah, he's ever so encroaching, or ever so close to that Blink Dagger, and we'll be able to pick it up soon, and that'll be able to queue up the aggression, and kind of raises the question, what do you think about this Necro build up over on Milan early on? I mean, I know they buffed it, but when you pick up this item, you're kind of committing to a little bit of a while of farming, as the first level or so, at least the first level, if not the first two, are pretty underwhelming.
Yeah, I mean, it does scale pretty linearly, and with Beastmaster, that's pretty much what you want. It is just like a good stat item to have, and he's actually going to jump Trixie up towards the top. Floor available, will land axes as well, and with an Onslaught, Trixie's definitely going to fall. But I'm pretty sure he would have gotten that kill with any sort of item build, but Necrobook, as far as an item that is needed to fight early, is actually not that bad. Velix is going to get jumped down towards bottom lane. LSA is going to be dodged by Pwn. Velix, though, still very low, and will actually slip out of there. Night Stalker still hanging around. Probably can go for another wraparound. If he can find the Undying, that'll be a kill. OK is kind of just warding him off, though. Now getting hit with the Void. Silenced as well. Velix going to drop the Tombstone. They don't want to dive into this. They're going to ignite the Lina. But again, that's not going to do that much. They force the TP out from Nemphy. That is a win again for the Bosnia side, since up towards top lane, there's absolutely no one there. This tower is going to fall.
Yeah, interesting to see the Shadow Fiend rotate in there. I mean, they know that they have decent move speed over on the Dire offlane side, but I guess perhaps they expected a little bit of a more overzealous style play there, a little bit more of a deep dive. But either way, yeah, BNH making a nice rotation there. They are going to catch out Own bot lane, though, at this point. And maybe the Ignite does take out the Lina, but she will die off. But they are going to dive deep and find the Ogre as well. Milan going to rotate in. He's going to be a little bit late. Doesn't have that Primal Roar as well, so perhaps a bit of a wasted TP from the Dire side. And finally, they'll be punished after a good minute or two of some disruptive play from that Dire offlane, and finally starting to get some traction under their heels.
Blink Dagger Onslaught are now up. Shadow Fiend, no mech. It's going to be a Shadow Blade for the Shadow Fiend, which does have its upsides. Like, you can destroy people with this item if you're able to get the jump in. With a little bit of minus armor help from the Slardar, we're looking at like 2-3 shot territory for even these tankier heroes. It's a disgusting amount of damage. However, it is going up against the Beastmaster, who is already building a Necrobook, so eventually the True Sight is going to be there. Also, just having the Hawk spot out the Shadow Fiend is something the Shadow Fiend really does have to be careful of. So it's a risky build up here for the Shadow Fiend, and again, it's going to come down to his playstyle when he decides to go invis. That'll determine how useful this item actually is. Looks like he's going to go towards the mid lane with the help of the Slardar, and they're looking for the Juggernaut right now. They'll smoke up and look for the jump in at the speed of life. If he gets crushed, he will just die right now. Nemphy's going to close in, spot him out perfectly. Blink, crush, amplified damage, raise, and right clicks. That's a super dead Juggernaut. Also, someone canceled their TP there. Didn't get a good look at who that was, but
it was the Ogre. But regardless, he probably would have died just thereafter. And now they're going to start pressuring this tier 2 and or tier 1, I should say, and should be able to bring it down uncontested.
They would probably go for the tier 2 actually, if they really wanted to. The mech is being built up on the Venomancer instead. Doesn't really matter who gets it as long as somebody does, but I mean, that's the burst power here of Stark. Once they get these aggressive items up, they can jump in, insta-kill you, then take your towers because they have Venomancer. And I'm pretty sure this bottom lane is going to be receiving that very shortly, and the top lane probably not too long for life either. So now Bosnia, they have to consolidate their farm, try to get this Juggernaut a little bit more space, because I don't think they can take a heads-up fight right now.
Yeah, I mean, they have the weave from the Dazzle, but no mech advantage, nothing really like that, and the mech soon to come out. And the pushing power from the Radiant side is certainly nothing to scoff at, as you mentioned. So not sure that B&H can really take a 5-man. They need to find picks, but start playing it exactly as they should at this point, and that's perhaps why the Shadow Blade is a little bit surprising to me, kind of more of a pick-off-oriented farming item than is the mechanism. So having that early mech, I feel like, would secure them a couple more easy tower pushes early on, but they are going to build into it regardless, as you mentioned, on the Venomancer. So balling up right now, they are going to be a little bit tough to take on, but a 3-man smoke from the Dire side is going to look to flank them from the back, and no one is really out by their lonesome, but they can perhaps jump the Undying and remove the Tombstone, but they're going to get it off first and blow up the Juggernaut. LSA Laguna Blade is there. Primal Roar is going to be a little bit too late. Requiem popped off. It's going to slow up the Beastmaster. He's going to throw out the Axis before. Just a glancing blow. He dies off. 2 clean picks for the Radiant side there in Finland, with great reactions on Okesia. Going to be able to drop that LSA right onto the Juggernaut. He doesn't jump in under the spin, and they're going to blink forward, find Own with a crush, couple right clicks, 1 raise. He's down as well, 3 dead. And now this is going to be an easy tier 2 going the Radiant side. And all of a sudden, what was somewhat of an even game has been blown wide open in this bottom lane.
Okay, so the LSA cast range is slightly larger than that of Omnislash. That being said, however, if that play happens just a couple of minutes later, a couple seconds later, when it's daytime, I know it's hard to make that call as Night Stalker, but they have the vision. They actually do see the Lina setting up. This Observer Ward gave Stark the vision to see the smoke being blown from the Bosnia side, and then they were able to react absolutely perfectly. It almost seemed like they knew that that smoke was happening, although I don't really know if that is true or not. I mean, they reacted perfectly, and it's Bosnia just walking into unintentional or not trap, and now their bottom lane is completely devoid of towers. Now the gold is really starting to stack up on Stark. Now they do have the mechanism also completed on the Courier, plus the Aegis on the Slardar. That attempted fight could have been the balancing factor there for Bosnia. They could have gotten right back into it, at least held the game, but now they're pretty far behind. They're going to look for Trixie up towards top. Milan has another roar. He could probably do this by himself. With the Ogre Magi coming in, Trixie's definitely going to fall. Can he get any poison damage out? The Nova's there, but no Gale. It's only level 1 anyway, so it doesn't actually do that much. So everyone should be survive up towards top, but I think that last bottom lane fight, that is going to be the one that is going to mark Stark's really rise into this game.
Yeah, I mean, despite having 5 deaths now on Trixie, he's only 300 and 500 gold behind the Juggernaut and the Beastmaster, respectively, in terms of net worth. And the cores in the Slardar and Nemphy specifically well ahead of the 1 and 2 position for Bosnia and Herzegovina. They're even going to find top with the tick out with Velix, the Beastmaster. And the return kill will probably be found by the Ogre Magi here onto Velix. But he's going to Soul Rip and look to man up here. They come through with the Shadow Wave, though. The offensive and defensive weave going to be popped by Vita, and the tower not being standing there in the tier 1 isn't going to allow the Radiant side to join up with their Undying. Regby needs to get back, though, on this Ogre Magi, as Okesia is encroaching upon the lane with a Laguna Blade. He'll just be able to kill him off one shot, but he will back off for now. And the Shadow Blade, or the Boogie Slardar from the backside, is going to look to try and find someone. Doesn't catch vision just yet of the Dazzle and TP out. From the TP out will keep the rest of the lineup safe.
It's just a 1-for-1 trade up towards the top lane. So trading the Undying for the Beastmaster is a great trade for Stark, especially since on the aggressive, they can go for these tower pushes, and Bosnia really do need their Beastmaster in order to defend. The tower is going to be dropped super quickly, and Bui's off to the side now with Vanguard completed, ready for the fight. And Shadow Fiend, wow, also going for a Lincoln Sphere. This is not your standard Shadow Fiend build. This is not in the textbooks, but it actually is a pretty good item up against what Bosnia have right now. Poison Touch is, kind of the waste item. That's the waste skill, rather. It's what you use to cancel Lincolns, but everything else, like Void, Crippling Fear, are great skills to block. Roars at a premium. Fire Blast, if you could block that, it's a lot of damage, and a little bit of stun duration, assuming it doesn't multi. So Nemphy is going to go for the item that helps the team win right now. Seems like they are not interested in actually playing this game. They just want to go ahead and win.
Yeah, 20 minutes in, going to look to bust high ground, and looks like B&H caught a little bit off guard here. Not completely ready and postured up to make this defense, but they will mount it now. And the nighttime going to be popped by the Stalker here. Going to look to clean up this wave, but that's more than enough for them to bring down this tier 3. And they'll just TP back out with the Lina as well as Boogie. As the split push was being committed by both the Jugger and the Beastmaster. Jump forward, Crush is going to find the speed of life. He won't be able to get the Omni Slash off. The solo kill from Milan is there with the Primal Roar. He has a TP and a regen rune available to himself. The Crush was just used, and that's going to cue the TP out. Meanwhile, top lane, Requiem going to be popped off. They're going to find the Ogre Magi. He is brought down. The buyback from the Juggernaut. He's going to try and take down this Tombstone, as we mentioned in the draft, but just isn't there enough by himself. He'll be graved up for now and kept alive, but he's ticking down quickly and should be brought down. Die back 55 seconds on the sideline. Now the Rex are exposed for that Radiant side. Only having a Lina on the sideline should be able to bring it down relatively quickly. Boogie is back in base, so won't accelerate the push with the Slardar, but they have more than enough to bring down this lane of Rax. And 20 minutes in, they're going to get what they came for in this top lane.
And force out the buyback from the Juggernaut as well. I really do like the... Oh, okay, hold on, we're not done yet. TP coming in. Ogre Magi just going to chuck some fire. That's about it. Never mind, we are done here. Rax is on the top lane taken. I do like the play there from Bosnia. They know that with the Beastmaster, especially with level 3 and Necrobook, you can push extremely quickly. Like, it's kind of scary how fast Bosnia can actually push. And the buyback on the Juggernaut there, after having died making trades on the bottom lane, is the correct move, and I think it maybe in a different game could have worked. The problem is at this point is that Bosnia are just a little bit too far behind right now. Even though that was a level 2 Omni Slash, you're Omni Slashing Nymphy, who just went invis, so nothing. You're going into an Undying, who can also go invis with Glimmer Cape, but is also just naturally tanky. They're going to jump towards V to blow him up. Boogie's going to take a lot of hurt right now, but he still has the Aegis. He just wants to use it. It looks like he will get his wish. He will fall, and the rest of Stark, they're slowly getting into position right now. Trixie wandering in, has the mech at the ready. Necrobook's doing a little bit of damage. In fact, a lot of pure damage to Nymphy, but now they get the Gale up onto at the speed of life. Boogie's right next to him. Juggernaut's going to try to spin out of here. It looks like with the movement speed, he will get a little bit of distance, but maybe not quite enough, because the Slaughter is sprinting forward for a crushed couple hits. That's going to death of the Juggernaut. Anyone else trying to get in here? Milan's going to wrap around, but Nymphy's going to find him. And that's GG. Milan is going to call it before he dies, but he may just die anyway. One long raise. Oh, he's going to live, but still. The play there with the Omni Slash did nothing to anyone there. Like, the Undying took a little bit of damage, but he's so tanky on the top lane. Venomancer has a Ghost Scepter, so he just took nothing. The top lane fight, even 3v5 for Stark, went so much better than it really should have because they were so far ahead. Yeah,
I feel like it definitely comes back to the lanes. They just really didn't get much on that Ogre Night Stalker combo, and they're sitting at level 8 and 10. At the end of the game, 22 minutes in. But either way, a valiant attempt from Bosnia and Herzegovina. It's definitely going to be a very formidable foe in this Finn stack or Stark 4 ASC, whatever you want to call them. Regardless, they've already got a series win, and now they've got a game win in this best of 2 today in the ProDota National Cup. So they're going to look to make it a clean 4 games with the best second game coming up.
Yeah, if they win both games, they get 3 points. If they tie 1 apiece, they only get 1, so obviously a lot better if you win. Go figure, right? I'm Mikelorus, guys. I've been joined by More Rage, Please, and we'll be right back for Game 2 between Team Finland and Team Bosnia. Don't go anywhere.